your world will be consumed by the great Cataclysm. There's nothing you can do to stop this.
What?
For this is a threat from Adola, as essential as the stars. Hold your companies close. Bag the girls that you have been scared to bag. Talk to those that you've previously ghosted, and ghost them again. Fire Force Season 3 was one of them ones. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't see enough people talking about it. I saw 2 videos on YouTube, so I had to put on the belt like I was the father of the household, and I had to lock in. But if you've already been watching me, you know I've covered a little bit of Season 3, but also if you haven't, let me catch you up to speed real quick. So basically, Obi gets backdoored by the Empire themselves. They sided with the White Clad and they're taking him in for custody because apparently he's not turning in a pillar to them. Company 8 then gets excommunicated from every company, and they're basically saying, yo, Company 8, look at them like they're box oiled up machines, silver. They're not like us. And then Company 8 goes into hiding. They meet up with the Joker. They pair up with the Joker. He's talking about so what'll it be, fellas? You walking dark or you walking light? 30 years old, by the way, and he's talking like some edgy 13-year-old Discord moderator. And they go to infiltrate the White Clad to save Obi. Shinra and Joker on the big man himself, Burns. The rest of Company 8 minus Arthur gotta fight this baddie named Gold, and she could spoil me riding every day. I know she's about that bag, and I have no issue with her spending that bag on me. But you know what takes her right out the mix? Windman pulls up thinking he's, but nah, he didn't get Super Saiyan like, he didn't get Haki like, he didn't get access to every single devil fruit like, So Arthur pulls up and takes him out of the mix. But Dragon pulls up, and guess what? Him and Arthur run it for a little bit, but he gets taken out the mix too. And that brings us right to where I left all you Fire Force fans waiting for another video on this channel. I'm sorry, but it's time to lock in. After Shinra spins through, drops his axe kick right on Burns' shoulder and sends him flying through floor after floor, Captain Burns decides it's a good time to switch up the anime. He finally got caught up on ReZero, and he took inspiration from Felix, so he takes out his Fire Cat form. But if you want to say a more one-to-one look, he looks like Mario Leona, however you say her name. I'm not gonna lie, I forgot. But we still have Obi flexing while he's chilling up here with a White Clad member. The White Clad member knocks over a rock, setting us up for the next scene that's about to happen. The Joker and Shinra are having their standoff with Burns, and the rock finally hits the ground. And you already know what I'm about to say, so let me take a sip of my water, cause Shinra wastes no time and he's already at Burns' face. False alarm though, don't let this get you hyped. Direct block from Burns, Shinra spins to get blocked yet again. Shinra then hits him with the Meliodas Classic, the Beyblade move he used against Escanor. And Shinra flies away to hit a backflip midair and drops his foot right on Burns' shoulder, but does 0 damage, moving like the dude who's standing in the pool, and the guy jumps over him and puts his foot on top of his head. The only thing lost here was Shinra's aura. Burns goes for a punch, but Shinra barely weaves and gets hit with a mean elbow, sending him flying back. Dude's entire sleeve got blown off, so he's throwing off the jacket saying, I'm not letting you scuff up the Rick Owens anymore. We cut to Burns' backstory, and this man is locked in with prayer. He's picking cabbage, looking at the sun. He's praying. The kids are playing in the back. Guess what? They're not locked in. Guess what he's doing? They're praying. They put a piece of doo-doo or a piece of ice cream. I don't know what it is. Looks like a swirl of froyo. They put it on his head. He's still praying. Don't even get me started. On top of a mountain, he's praying. In front of a window at nighttime, he's praying. In the sun where he's shining on his face, he's praying. In the cabbage patch, he's praying, thanking God for the cabbage that's laid out in the patch so he can eat. He's locked in with prayer. And Joker's saying to him, yo bro, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. What if your prayers are going nowhere? And Burns is like, I'm gonna be so real with you. I'm about my routine like a military drill sergeant. I wouldn't stop praying. I'm locked in with my faith. And he's like, but guess what? I found where my prayers are going. And if you ain't picked that up, his prayers are going to Adola, or Soul. I think that's her name. Adola's the realm. Soul is like the god of that realm. Something like that.
Young whippersnapper, there's only one person I must serve, and that's Soul.
Unc, you gotta lay off the cigs. They not good for you.
Nah, I know you not talking about no cigarettes.
Hey y'all, shut up. I just downloaded the new 2K27. I'm finna green this kill. Shinra straight dashes in and misses the spin kick on Burns. He then follows up to a block, and there all my hope goes. Shinra is cooked. I've seen enough. Burns then gives Shinra a mean left hook to the face, sending him flying back looking like a deflated balloon falling out the sky. But then Shinra starts moving crazy, doing all this just to do 0 damage to Captain Burns. Shinra then hits the ground and starts spinning like the valve on a spigot for absolutely no reason, by the way. He's doing all this just for the clip. He then flies to the top of the building looking like he's a hawk coming down for his prey, and he hits a spin move kick to do no damage.
Wolfang fist from Yamcha would have done more damage, boy.
I'm sick to my stomach. He hit Shinra with a WWE move, sending this man on the ground, and he hits a little bounce. And there's no way dude recovers from this. I lie, he dashes right back in, but hits a kick for no damage. So should he even have recovered here? Nah, I lied again. He pulls out the devil hand sign, the sign Obi taught him, and he summons a literal demon. The demon chomps Burns, but guess what? Burns reflects the demon. It did actually nothing. Like, this dude needs to just put the code up at this point. It's over. But Shinra manages to weave the force palm and kicks this man clean in his head, yet he doesn't even budge. This man's solid like a wall. He then punches this man in the face, sending him into a wall. And Joker's just back here spectating like it's the Fortnite World Cup, talking about an immovable object meets an unstoppable force. This fight will never end. Till Shinra hits him with the devil again, but this man gets grabbed and slammed on the ground like Hope. Captain Burns takes him ballroom dancing because they're just spinning around, but Shinra's like, I bet. And he speeds that junk up a little, and he can't control the spinning. And I can't comprehend what's going on here, but I'm assuming Shinra is just missing every attack because he gets slammed straight into the ground and he has to retreat. Shinra dashes in for the 20th time just to do no damage. He gets his next attack blocked. He gets punched in the face, then he gets picked up by his hair. Burns starts using him as a speed bag, bro. It's absolutely tragic what's happening here. I don't know how he didn't pass out from this, but hey, that's that main character movement. He hits Burns with one of his devious smiles. He grabs both of Burns' arms, flips over him, kicks him in the face, and hits him with the most unenthusiastic two-step I've ever seen. Gets a mean punch in his gut, sending him to the moon, but he's not folding. He flies right back in. Hits Burns with a mean knee, but of course, as usual, Shinra has to retreat. Mid-fight though, Sho gets an Adola link from Shinra, and he's remembering when him and Shinra were babies back in the better days. And Shinra's about to overheat, which in other words means he's about to be cooked. But his flames start turning blue. He's getting the press of death. Hey, he even got the words slowly falling down his face just to prove it. Shinra starts burning the room backwards and forwards, and Burns is like, I bet. He goes to stage 4, and Shinra takes, I'ma say it again, no time. He dashes straight into Burns, and he finally makes contact with him for the final round. Burns is stomping forward trying to stop his attack, but Shinra's pressing on strong. Get it? I said pressing, because press of death. I was saying, I know I'm low-key clever. And I didn't know he could do it, but Shinra makes his flames hotter and he breaks through the shield that Captain Burns has protecting him. Yeah, nah, he chi expands and he leans into stage 5. He did it all for the clip. But like I love to say, Shinra is not folding. He's pressing on regardless of who he has standing in front of him. He may be eye to eye with Incineroar, but he's not giving up. He then gets a flashback of his mom and Sho when he was a baby, and you know when a main character in an anime gets a flashback, that is the equivalent to an anime character smiling. It's raps from there. He tells Sho to be a good boy and wait, cause he's finna be there to save him. And this man Shinra starts accelerating from what looks to be a stalemate. I don't know how he's moving faster in place, but he's doing it. And he starts breaking through stage 5, but Incineroar puts his hand to his chest and burns clean through his clothing. But Shinra decides to go even faster, and he switches his hand sign mid-fight. Get a screenshot of him. He looks like a Nell from One Piece. I didn't know Shinra could do this, and I've never seen him use this move before. But he decides to take Captain Burns back to Shonen Jump Weekly, to the manga. He makes it black and white, and he pierces clean through stage 5. And I mean, yeah, Shinra won the fight. It's raps from there. He's sweating bullets. Burns hits the ground. We see his real eye. He's talking about some, go be great, kid. You're the next generation. I believe in you, and you know, Company 8 might be able to beat the White Clad. And then he gets hit by the Witness Protection Program Infernal. It stabs him straight through the chest. It's his doppelganger. We can obviously tell that because it's missing the eye that he has, and he gets sucked away into some realm. Bye bye, Captain Burns. But low-key, he did redeem himself, because the start of this season, I hated his guts. But he didn't betray him because he hated him. I guess he just betrayed him because he was locked in. I mean, you can't hate on somebody for being locked in. Oh yeah, and then Kaido mixed with Heihachi decides he wants to get rid of Company 8, so he hits him with a crazy blast, but Iris protects him somehow. Low-key, I kind of have an idea on how she did it, but at the same time, I don't want to say it because they didn't really say it, so I don't want to say it to y'all because I could be spoiling, so I'm not going to say it to y'all, so yeah. But Hameya tells the White Clad to kill everybody but the Pillar, and the White Clads are hating, saying, yo, they're not going to make it. But Inka saw into the future, and she's saying, yeah, Now they got this one somehow, and a bunch of brooms explode the ground, pinning a white clad member to the ground. And there's only one man in Fire Force who uses this ability. The Soj King of the Fire Force universe is here. We got Moonlight Mask in the flesh. The white clad members are trying to attack him, but he's just eating each and every single one of their attacks. Since he can control fire, he can make fire, he can do whatever. He controls all the fire around him within a 5-meter radius. He basically has Gojo's infinity. That's why they call Moonlight Mask Man the Gojo of Fire Force. And Moonlight Mask sends these brooms to Company 8 to pick them up and send them on their way to Asakusa to get out of the heat. And he already knows Dragon is a threat just from looking at him. He's like, yo, I got something to do before I go home real quick. He hits an EI chop towards the white clad, but Charon eats that and he turns it into a Kamehameha. No, an angry Kamehameha, and he sends that junk right back. Dragon hops in for a punch, but he pushes off of him into a spin and forms another EI chop. Are we actually about to see Dragon take damage for the first time? Nah, cause he decides to throw out that EI chop and Dragon eats that junk like it's lunch. I think he actually healed him from pulling out this move. Even Dragon says, yo, mosquitoes on a summer day bite harder than that. So he hits a backflip into an EI chop flashbang, and him and Joker end up getting out the spot. And they finally arrive in Asakusa with an injured Shinra and an Arthur laid out on his back because he got cooked by Dragon. We cut to Frozone, and I'ma just call this dude the one-armed wonder. I literally can't remember his name. I know Frozone's real name is like Kareem or something like that, but I really genuinely just can't think of this dude's name. And they're talking about, yo, Captain Burns wanted to change something, so I'ma see what he wanted to change exactly. And then we see Hibana at Company 5 saying, I'm going back to where it all began. I'm finna find out the secret to these doppelgangers. So she pulls up, walking around this old burnt up place, just straight reminiscing. But she finds where the secret entrance could be because the sisters weren't allowed to touch the altar, so she's like, I bet under there is what I'm looking for. And that's when Frozone and One Arm Wonder sneak up talking about some, yo, I knew we would find you here. I'm not gonna lie, you gonna need to tell us all you know about them doppelgangers. We got something we need to solve. So he uses his ice trumpets to freeze the fire and knock the altar out of the way so they could get in. But while they're down there at the bottom, they find a bunch of books about plants, and Hibana's like, yo, I can't jump to conclusions yet, cause you know that be pushing it. I gotta give up some time to settle the set in, cause there's no way they were not feeding us bugs just so they could turn us into infernals. Like I said, I'm not jumping to conclusions cause that would be crazy. But then Hibana's like, yo, let me slow down, put 2 and 2 together. They gave us all flower names. Nah, they was really feeding us bugs. And then Sister Sumire says, yeah, you're right. We really was feeding you bugs. They go with flowers, don't they? I know you see them bees on them dandelions. They get in that pollen. Y'all were our pollen. We were harvesting y'all like y'all was some crops. And this junk had me thinking I was watching a horror movie with all the sound effects, the screen shaking, was like, and then they cut to next week for the next episode. Had me heated, I'm not gonna lie. And Sister Sumire saying, yo, I don't know why you're still asking questions. You got the answers all laid out in front of you. Then Frozone asks Hibana, yo, what do bugs have to do with all of this junk? And she tells them that the bugs from Adola serve as a gateway for doppelgangers to cross over. And as many doppelgangers are in Adola, there are humans on Earth. And when the doppelgangers from Adola use those bugs to get into humans and try to become one with them, they're cooked. Human combustion. That's how Infernos are created. And then we find out that her experiments were to create Adola Burst to get the pillars ready for the great Cataclysm. She hits a pose and she lets all her nin flow loose. And she's like, yeah, y'all gonna die here. I'm tired of talking. And she catches the one-armed wonder with a speed blitz, hits him with a 2-piece, sending him into a bookshelf. It's time for him to read. Frozone tries to fight, but she turns to Shigaraki and breaks his trumpet in a touch. And then she hits him with another touch and brings him to the ground in a heartbeat. And after her fingers freeze from touching him, she's like, oh, you must be Kareem. You know, Rekka talked about you. You know, the traitor? Yeah, I raised him too. And then we find out 250 years ago, she was here at the first great Cataclysm, and ever since that day, she's been working on this earth to try to make it happen again. And Hibana tells her, yo, shut that junk up. I'm here to get revenge for my sisters. And Sumire is like, oh, you mean these ones? W Rage Bay from Sumire, I can't even lie. And this just has to be added to a list of like top 5 heinous acts villains have done in anime, because she had no reason to pull out these Infernos. She could have beat them without the Infernos. One armed man tries to speed blitz her, but gets his clothes burnt off with a touch. But the Hubba Bubble Bubblegum dude saves the day before things can escalate because he makes an escape for them. Even when she's prepared to not let them leave, she has an Adola link to the woman in black and she gets stalled and they end up getting the heck out of there. I would have done the same thing. I would have teleported, not even wasted a word. But then we're back in Asakusa and Arthur's depressed because his sword got destroyed as we saw in the fight with Dragon, and he believes that it was the strongest material in the world, and Vulcan saying, yo, you got that junk from a Home Depot. We gonna do you way better. And Vulcan gaslights the Go Arthur into believing that they can find Orichalcum, and this man becomes a king, and they go on a whole adventure. He tells Lisa and you, yo, Orichalcum does not exist, but I got a little something in the works. You just gotta join us on this party, and we gonna find that Orichalcum. So they set out. Vulcan told all the shops to act like NPCs and say the same response over and over to give Arthur the hints to where the Orichalcum is located, and this man Arthur is in it. He named his character and all. He's trying to hit level 100 before he slays Dragon. He's locked in. And after Arthur gets the final hint to where the Orichalcum is located, Vulcan's like, yeah, I put a little season all on it, some salt, some pepper. I mixed it up to make the legend sound even cooler. I said, yo, it's all where it began. But Arthur, he's not taking it that way. He's like, oh, the Orichalcum is located down below in the Nether, when it was really at the first shop they went to under a light post. So they pull up to the Nether and they're walking around like it's sweet. Like this isn't the equivalent to walking around the Bronx in a dark alleyway at 3 a.m. in the morning. And suddenly out of the blue, Arthur locks in because he senses a presence headed their way. And out of the smoke, both of Arthur's parents walk up after years of no communication. Bro didn't even know if they were alive. Talking about some, yo son, how you been protecting the castle, dude? My parents pulled up on me years after just abandoning me, asking me if I'm still protecting a castle? Oh, we throwing hands. I don't care if you created me. But they basically explained to him why they left. They said, we were going to the Nether to join the resistance. You know, we was just trying to stay safe. We didn't want to bring you here because would you rather be in the slums or be in the slums just above ground? You know what I'm saying? Which one sounds better? But when they tell them they know all about the Great Cataclysm and what's going on above ground, they're like, yo, how do you know this? And Arthur's dad is like, yeah, you know, if I look into my hat, I can see everything. That's actually how I knew Arthur was pulling up today. I just took a peek in my hat and I felt like my son was coming here today. Then Arthur tells him, I'm down here for Orichalcum, so you must know something. He's like, yo, keep it on the low. Follow me. I got something back at my spot. And like it's an under the table drug deal, he shows them the top of a rocket cap and they're telling him this is metal from space. So instead of getting that Orichalcum you so desperately wanted, nah, you getting your sword made from a fallen star. This gets Arthur gassed up and I'm already knowing he's gonna go crazy with this. But this wasn't the only surprise they had. 3 children pull up out of nowhere, and obviously they're Arthur's parents' children. So nah, they couldn't take a kid from the outside world into the Nether, but they could bring kids from the outside world into the Nether, if you know what I mean. And rightfully so, Yu gets heated. He's like, no way you left your kid, but you came to the Nether to have more. But Arthur does not care. The only thing on his mind is that star sword and his fade with Dragon. And yeah, he gets his new sword forged and it's looking better than it ever could have looked. But I'ma be so real, I know his fire abilities to put fire on the sword like through the hilt because he's Gen 3. So is this sword just gonna like be on fire when he fights with it? Like, I've read the manga, but low-key I'm a TikTok reader. Like, I didn't fully read it, I just read all the fight scenes on TikTok. And his parents desert him yet again. Yeah, they just don't like this dude, bro. I'm gonna be so real. But we cut back to Shinra and he's trying to tap into Adola so he can have a conversation with his little brother before it's too late, because a great cataclysm creeping up on them like a creeper in Minecraft waiting to blow you up after you just came back from the mines on half a heart. But when he wakes up in Adola and he finally gets to see his brother again for the first time since season 1, I believe. It's been a minute. So then Sho decides, yo, that's it. I'm out of here. I'm tired of having to follow what they want me to follow and not being able to be free. So he threatens to slime Arrow if she decides to follow him, but she ends up saying, yo, the only thing I care about is keeping you safe. So if I gotta go against them, I'll go against them to keep you safe, because I'm your guardian. We tight like that. So Company 8 has a meeting and Obi's telling them, I hate to break it to you, the Great Cataclysm is happening soon. Hibana walks in with the proof. And oh my goodness, Hibana is definitely the best Fire Force girl. I'm not gonna lie, there's not one coming close. But moving on to important matters. And they decided to talk about the most unimportant things at the worst moments. Seconds ago, they're talking about the Great Cataclysm. They're all scared. They're all surprised. They're like, what's gonna happen next? Are we gonna live? Then they go to talking about who Shinra and Obi's perfect match are. They gotta lock in. No way they're talking about love lives when they're about to have no lives. But then the GOAT from season 2, Scope, pulls up and he's talking more than me. Shinra asks him, what are you doing out here in Tokyo, bro? And he's like, so I fought with a hellhound, I did this, I did that, blah blah blah, I ate potatoes, I got fat, sorry Juggernaut, blah blah blah, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. But then the goat Arthur kicks him like a ball, causing him to lock in. And he's like, yeah, actually I'm here to tell you, the woman in black, her last words, they about the Great Cataclysm, so I'm sure you'd want to know. But he tells them the reason the Great Cataclysm failed is because people weren't smart enough to do math, similar to how it is today. Pi wasn't calculated, so, you know, they couldn't get things set in order. But Vulcan held the key to the deciphering of pi, however you want to phrase that. And that's why Giovanni took that junk in an instant. And Scope basically says all this to say, yeah, the Great Cataclysm could happen in the next frame, the next shot, the next angle, whatever you want to say, it could happen right this moment. But then Shinra asks Obi, yo, where were you earlier? We could have been discussing a plan to, you know, better plan for the Great Cataclysm that's about to happen. He's like, yeah, I was getting us reinforcements. So don't think I was just out there lollygagging, wasting time, doing some shenanigans. I was locked in. And Hamea decides to press that red button. She says, yo, Sumire, these people above, they're getting frightened. Go ahead and speed it up for them. So she hits her stance and hits an earthquake so powerful that all of Tokyo is feeling it. Is this even pyrokinetics at this point? She's just cheating. I know Adola is not doing all this, but she brings an entire pillar from under the ocean, and from the water emerges a gigantic Gurren Lagann mech. I did not know we switched to a mecha anime. I don't know where the fire is. I don't know what's going on. I don't think this thing even operates with fire. I'm so confused right now, but some crazy's about to happen. Obi ends up letting Shinra fly to the harbor all by himself, and all of Company 2 is pulling up. Even the staff, the secretary, the chairman, I don't know, cause there's no way there's this many firefighters in Company 2 alone. They unload straight rockets on top of rockets on top of rockets, and did I already say rockets at this man? And he is taking no damage. He opens up his mouth, he hits him with a Biju blast electric shock. Thank God it wasn't an actual blast that hit him, but it disrupted all the electrical signals. Juggernaut pulls up ready to let out his biggest blast. And I say the GOAT, by the way, because Juggernaut is genuinely goated. But he gets ready to shoot, and out of nowhere Shinra flies in front of him and takes the hit and falls into the ocean. And the pure fact that a human was durable enough to tank this shot, I don't think it was gonna do anything against the mech. I'ma be so honest. Scope tells him though, if he would have hit the pillar, it would have blown up a volcano. They all would have been cooked. Also, the Ash dude we saw in season 2, I think his name is pronounced Corono or whatever, he's here too. And this guy's ordering him around and he's saying, yo, I'm gonna cut your pay if you don't do this, do that. So he tells him to go save Shinra. But out of nowhere, when Corono and the Company 2 commander are deciding who's gonna turn in the fugitive Shinra, a white clad member appears out of nowhere and flips them upside down and sends them flying. And as he's falling, Corono's boss says, yo, if I die here, it's on your paycheck, buddy. So he's obligated to save him. The mecha then starts gathering the energy around him. He's getting that Biju ball ready that looks like it's finna destroy a planet. And you would think someone will pop in to save him. No, he burns the entire city down. Nah, I lied again. We hear a whistle. And Company 4 pulled up at the right time to save all of the civilians. And Ogun flies in, he gets a buff by both of his boys and Company 4. He is that man with the fourth force dunk, and he knocks that man's arm clean off. And Corono pulls up with his scythe made of ash and he slices clean through the kaiju, although I don't exactly know what he cut here, but the monster just falls. And even Sho made it just in time. We see Fairy floating with Shinra in the sky. Fairy weaves one arrow, then looks at the other one coming for him and stops it midair. And you know what? Yeah, like the animation for him stopping it and the arrow flying to him was so cool, but then the animation went to terrible. Like terrible, just bad. Sho's jumping on the arrows to him and he can't even hit him. He's just getting flipped up and side and down, upside and down, and when he finally hits him, he cuts through him and then he disappears. See, the reason I speed ran that fight is because not only did they sell the animation, and that wasn't even a fight. That wasn't a fight, that was just bullying from Fairy to Sho. There was no point. But here's where the budget went. Corono takes his ash and he cuts the kaiju's arm clean off. This man wasn't introduced to the second season, but he's getting more special treatment than someone we've seen in the first. He then dashes in and he takes his scythe and he cuts the kaiju in half. He just won the fight. We find out the history of this bunny-toothed boy, this giant-sized human cockroach from Adola. Looks like Dobby when we look at the back of his silhouette with those long, stupid arms. Sorry, I don't really like how he looks. And he's walking around thinking he's Cell, looking for the perfect vessel, and he comes across Raffles. He also finds Amaterasu and he's like, yeah, she's the one. And while Shinra's knocked out, he has an Adola link to Baymax Hands Inca herself, and she's talking about some, I can see the future, and obviously I live in the present, but I can't see the past. But guess what? I saw into the future. You gonna take me into the past using your super speed, ain't that some? And also, we gonna fall in love. Ain't that some? So while Shinra's getting ready to go into the past, she's sitting on him with 2 airbags stuffed in her outfit. Miss Baymax is trying to put on a show. And they go flying out into space. They're going so fast, they start becoming pixelated. It's looking like they're on a trip that can't be achieved through a car, plane, boat, if you know what I mean. It can only be obtained through special means. And they join the Warner Bros. Cinematic Universe. Even Inca starts flying off of Shinra's back. They went black and white. They went to the manga yet again, and he's seeing pictures of what the earth looked like before. He's seeing real humans saying, yo, what are these people I'm looking at? They look like me, but are they me? Looking at all these different types of stuff, and it got him tweaking out. I'd be tweaking out rightfully so. And this scene was so beautifully adapted. The peak of the season. And it's getting me hyped for part 2. So hopefully y'all did enjoy that video. I low-key do not know why he woke up with blonde hair. Like I said, I'm a TikTok reader. I know what happens in the manga, but I don't exactly know what happens in the manga. But I'm gonna stop my yapping. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss a banger. Comment down below what video you trying to see next. I got a plan, but I want to see if y'all rocking with the plan. And with all that said, I'm gonna see y'all in the next one.